Hi, it's Dwyer. GamblersAdvisory.com, dwyervip.com. Remember, the opinion you should follow should be your own. Just consider this video to be a second opinion from a complete stranger online. Today is the day before the fight. It's March the 24th, 2017. We have the rematch upon us. Of Jorge Linares against Anthony Crolla. Now, I made a video before the first fight where I picked Linares, who at the time was viewed as the underdog. Let me just say, this fight's part of a bigger theme, right? I understand many people who watch these videos are from the UK. Fair enough. But I know baseball fans here in the US understand this intuitively. Sometimes you have young guys out there who are just blessed with a lot of talent, right? The guy can throw 100 miles an hour, right? Kopech, Red Sox farm system, 105 miles an hour. The guy might not quite know how to pitch. The guy might not quite have the proper temperament, but the guy's talented, right? It's like the basketball player. Let's make it a more universal sport. It's like the basketball player who, you notice, has the size. You notice he's quick on his feet and he has the vertical. He doesn't quite know how to pace himself. He doesn't quite know intuitively what to do. But you notice the guy can simply do things other people can't. Now, in the sport of boxing, you have some guys who are masters. These guys marry physical gifts with a thinking man's thought process in the game, right? I'll name two of them. Vasyl Lomachenko and Mikey Garcia, right? These guys, you see them in fights and they're thinking things through. They're operating at a master level. But in the entire sport of boxing, I personally feel that Jorge Linares, the guy who I'm expecting to win this fight against Anthony $1 Million Crolla, right? Jorge Linares is one of the few guys, in my opinion, who has a plausible chance of beating both. Why? Because Linares, who has a problem maintaining pacing, who has a problem creating slow rounds, lulling the other guy to sleep, winning an easy fight when he has the talent advantage on his opponent, right? Linares, who I know has been in the game for years, really can't regulate a fight, right? Doesn't seem to have that ability. But my God, does the guy have hand speed. Again, I want you to look at the 10th round of his fight against Brian Mitchell, right? He almost looks like Popeye in that round. His hands are so fast. My God, does the guy have punching power. Compare his KO ratio to Anthony Crolla's, right? The guy, in the world of professional boxers, in my opinion, is a better athlete than Anthony Crolla, right? Quite frankly, he's a better puncher than Vasyl Lomachenko. He's a better athlete than Mikey Garcia. By the way, did I mention that Linares wants to fight those guys? Right? Now, he may not have, in my opinion, the understanding or the temperament, the thought process of a Vasyl Lomachenko. You know, there's certain fighters who you see them in fights and you see them thinking. Andre Ward, right? James DeGale. You can see they're setting up things. You can notice them making adjustments, right? That's a different Andre Ward, the second half of the Kovalev fight, than it is the first half, right? Totally different, right? There are other fighters, Keith Thurman. You notice Thurman making adjustments, right? He figures out against Sean Porter, forget the front foot, right? I have to be on my back foot and I have to time this. Now that's not Linares. Linares is the guy who, to me, is a world-class fighter almost in spite of himself. What's he doing losing to Tony DeMarco? Right? Why does he end up trading so much with opponents? Guy has a pretty good jab. The guy has pretty good legs. Why can't he have easy rounds where he's just hitting you in the face with a jab and outmaneuvering you, not allowing you to close the distance on him? Instead, like Chocolatito, too many rounds are high action rounds. The reason we have this fight is because the first fight was good. It's because Anthony Crolla had moments in the first fight. The problem, though, is Crolla just doesn't have the gifts to make Linares pay. In other words, the guys who beat Linares are heavy-handed types who are fighting a guy who they know has superior hand speed, who has a jab, who throws some of the best combinations in boxing. Linares can let both hands go. But then there's the moment in the round where, guess what? Linares is right here in the pocket. Right in range where you can land the big punch to hurt him, to drop him. What's a guy doing with a dodgy chin so close to you with his physical gifts? But yet that's what Linares does. Right? That's who he is. Now, unfortunately for Crolla, he just doesn't have the punch to make the guy pay. In other words, he looks up, here's Linares, right? He's not back on a jab. He's not, he's not keeping you honest and stuff like that, right? He's not Vasyl Lomachenko, moving around over here, you don't quite have the angles right. No, this guy inexplicably gives you the angles at times in rounds, right? In a way, it's almost like Canelo. There's a moment in rounds, in my opinion, where suddenly Canelo decides, you know what? I need to rest for the next 45 seconds. I know it makes no sense. You would think guys have trained, they're ready, they're going to go 3 minutes. But Canelo needs to take breathers for 45 seconds. With Linares, I think it's a little bit different. He's in there thinking about other things. That's the only way I could put it, right? Because the guy has the stamina. The guy's a great athlete. He's one of the better athletes. But then he seems to get distracted, right? I just don't believe a stylistic fighter with a less than 50% KO ratio, who is lower volume, like Anthony Crolla, right? Who's waiting to pick his spots, who often comes forward without throwing punches. I just don't believe that guy can beat this guy, right? Linares, let's face it, life's unfair. He's going to be by far the better athlete in the sport, right? Unfortunately, in life, effort doesn't always equate to talent. I can tell you back in the day, and I'm serious about this, look this up. Roy Jones Jr. was such a freak athlete when he was a young man that the guy would go and play basketball the day of the fight. Think about it. He'd play basketball in the afternoon. Then he would towel himself off, meet up with his crew, go to the arena, and then beat the daylights out of his opponent. Today we have Manny Pacquiao. Think about it. The guy has a full-blown career outside of boxing, folks. He's a professional politician, right? The guy leaves the political state house, gets with his trainer, trains, and then is in against world-class fighters. Right? Think about it. That's the level of talent. Now, Jorge Linares, all I could say about him, and I know he's, a hard worker and stuff like that, but his game plans seem to place him in peril. In other words, if he were to fight Deontay Wilder, there'd be a part of the fight where he'd be right in the range of Wilder's right hand. Right? Now, the Wilders of the world can take advantage of moments like that. I believe he could be right in the range of Anthony Crolla's $1 million punch and survive it. And I believe he's just too fast. He's just too talented. He frames his punches too well. Right? He just looks too good at times. 10th round against Brian Mitchell. For me to believe that he's going to lose to a fighter he's already beaten. Right? I think the way to beat Linares is the same way to beat Joseph Parker. Right? Don't wake him up. You're fighting him, you realize, whoa, this guy got some hand speed on him. Oh, this guy got power on him. Well, this guy's more talented than me. And then suddenly you notice the guy's dropping his hands. The guy seems to be thinking about what he was doing the night before. Right? The guy's a little bit lackadaisical. You have to have the punch, and you have to be prepared to throw that Deontay Wilder right hand at that moment. If you don't have that kind of firepower, if you don't hit like Canelo, right? Power's a great equalizer. Right? Like Kovalev, like Hay, like Wilder. In my opinion, you don't have much of a chance against Jorge Linares. I like Linares in this fight. Just too much talent for Anthony Crolla. Now, this is not to say that Crolla isn't very talented himself. It's just that he should be fighting guys who don't have this level of hand speed and power. Right? In other words, I don't have to step in the batter's box if I have a choice against a guy who throws 102 miles an hour. Right? If I stick with guys who are throwing in the low 90s, and I'm a guy who can foul off the ball and set things up and convince judges that I'm the slicker, smoother person, okay. In a sport like boxing, that can carry me. Linares can throw 100. Don't be fooled by the fights he's lost. I'm just telling you. If you look at the Tony DeMarco film, you're going to notice Linares' hand speed and stuff like that. He gets cut inexplicably. He's still hanging around Tony DeMarco. Who knows what's going on? Who knows what he was thinking? The Salgado fight, there he is getting KO'd by a guy with a big punch. Right? I don't think that's going to happen here. I'm expecting a repeat. Be careful here too. Because Linares, in my opinion, has the combination of power and speed that can stop anyone. Right? Don't get too cute in saying Linares by decision. It's a rematch, folks. The fighters know each other a lot better. Don't be surprised if Linares isn't even more aggressive than he was the first fight. I like Linares here. If I had to hedge it, it would be with Crolla by decision. That's how I see it. Let me hear from you. The fight is in Crolla's backyard. I hope you leave your comments in the comment section to this video. Thanks for stopping by.